Abantu bafo bakamba kule kumumfumbwe. More than 20 people balebe pati ni babiri. Bagamba. Fish to arufyanye. People have died. Mumino yabaka pokola. The police killing people. Why? In the same government, bagamba. Abductions have happened. Bagamba. If you're not with them, it's either you're dead or you're in prison. This government, you're going to change big man. Fish to arufyanye pakubika office. Fish to arufyanye. Why me? Missing. Achani Ruba Mwaicho and Dizona. Where is why me? HH, tell us with your government, where is why me? Give us why me. Justice for why me, big man. Wachila mo HH. Wala tupwisha bega kutupwisha bagamba. Tatwale kulanda big man. Why you think? Maana watata. Sabia tuwasevana. Bagamba. Wanesa tuwakweni. Mujana tetu. Iti ya Zambia. Tuamona mwempwa. Bagamba. Tuamona mwempwa. Nama abductions bagamba. Muteko tuwaleta. Watulete lama. Amazara mush. No you can take. Kola ipompa tudeka. No you can take. Apa nomba bane. Mufulo pa mufulo. Mufulo pa mufulo. Wakuvota bane. Mufulo pa mufulo. Mufulo pa mufulo. Wakufuatika. Mufulo pa mufulo. Mufulo pa mufulo. Wakufuatika fuatika. Mufulo pa mufulo. Mufulo pa mufulo. When you day at kwe. Mufulo pa mufulo. Mufulo pa mufulo. Aikona man. Mufulo pa mufulo. Mufulo pa mufulo. Ika yakwa. Mufulo pa mufulo. Mufulo pa mufulo. Yakuli ati kwenyu. Mufulo pa mufulo. Mufulo pa mufulo. Mayona batata. Mayona batata. Bayuthi. Tientu isuli amenso. Tientu isuli amenso. Batu sendela nomba batu wipaila na hope Yesu. Endika chagwa lungu watu bela tinani mkwatila plan B. Nomba tu wadishiba plan B aba mmino ya kualesa. Bantu banga abala fa mucharo chesu cha Zambia. Nibanga abantu abala abducted mucharo chesu cha Zambia. Bambire kuli jeje banda. Nibanga abantu abala ba prison. Abena chitotela chilangwa. Wonze baba prison netunguru shina shimbi na shimbi. Muri one government ya kwa HH. Abantu naba fa mweleza. Aikata nomba baikata na kuli etika chagwa lungu watu kwa tile plan B. Apa kubo vya mufulo big man. Mufulo pa mufulo. Bila mine matzendela etika chagwa. Apa nomba bane. Mufulo pa mufulo. Mufulo pa mufulo. Wakuvota bane. Mufulo pa mufulo. Mufulo pa mufulo. Wakufuatika. Mufulo pa mufulo. Mufulo pa mufulo. Wakufuatika fuatika. Mufulo pa mufulo. Mufulo pa mufulo. When you day at kwe. Mufulo pa mufulo. Mufulo pa mufulo. Aikona man. Mufulo pa mufulo. Mufulo pa mufulo. Ita yakwa. Mufulo pa mufulo. Mufulo pa mufulo. Yakuli ati kwenyu. Mufulo pa mufulo. Mufulo pa mufulo. HH does not mean well for Mother Zambia. Zambia to Asebana, this is not the Mother Zambia that we were left with by our ancestors, our forefathers who fought so hard to liberate us. Dr. Kenneth Kaunda, Nalumino Mundia, Mama Julia Chikamoneka, Simon Mwansaka Pwepwe, they fought so hard to put this country on the map, to put this country where it is today. No man would destroy this country because we believe in unity. One Zambia, one nation, and we shout together we will change, and we are going to change this government.
elections continue, and so we can do what is right.
Look, I can't see the box. I can't see my box. When I press on cut time.
Amitapendwa ya vintu ifisume vyoza kula kuibukisha kana depotimo wimbo wa temenwa kadongi abazunga batita kadongi na kula kuibukisha kateka kaibukubuna kapona neseko syove pamenso yangwa umebaya iyaba ume iyaba ume
kateka wabantu twakulira lelo twakulira shikakukonke milimo shove
Eti kume mokula ndolola vale lilo wingi
iseko wingi mwakwete iseko wingi mwakwete mwaya mwende wino tata wesu
katushi muchi mokege wali bomba kale lomba mwatu jatuleli laki
Good day and thank you very much. Welcome to today's broadcast. Today is the day that the Lord has made, 31st of July 2025, Thursday, and there's a long weekend coming up and we wish you well during this upcoming weekend. Today we have a wonderful guest, leader of the opposition in Parliament, Honorable Brian Mundubile. I call him leader of the opposition in Parliament and I've refused to call him former because I think what happened to him and his fellow leaders in Parliament was an act literally of crime. So, of course, he will explain what has happened over time with the party. And currently the party, I think, has nominated Honorable Mwamba as leader of the opposition. But I've always called him leader of the opposition. So is Brian Mundubile is the one we are hosting today. He's member of Parliament for Mporokoso. And he will shed light to the few issues regarding the party. Then we'll delve into the state of the country and the opposition preparations for 2026. So let me just bring up Honorable Brian Mundubile and we start the program. Honorable Brian Mundubile, thank you very much for coming. I noticed that you were still in Parliament even as late as an hour ago, but thank you for the sacrifice, and thank you for the time that you've provided for us to interact with you. How have you been, and how's the Patriotic Front?
Well, firstly, Ambassador, I would like to thank you for inviting me to this program, this wonderful platform that created. We are in mourning. The past 2 months have not been very easy, as you know, because the 6th Republican president, who also was our party president, has been in a mortuary somewhere in South Africa the past 2 months. So life has not been easy. It's been very difficult to go about with normal business with this current state of affairs.
Yeah, thank you very much. Speaking of the late president, he died on 5th June 2025, and like you said, it's been about 2 months. He hasn't been put to rest. There's been a standoff between the family and the president in a manner he was treated since 2021, and I think the lack of leadership by government to resolve this matter. It is in court. There's a trial coming up on 4th August. Clearly, this is a worrying matter. What are your reflections over this standoff?
Well, first of all, Ambassador, the standoff is totally unnecessary. It's an act of cruelty on the part of government to keep bereaved family in that state and continue fighting them in court. The late president was fought, persecuted, harassed when he was alive. It was expected that when he answered the call of the Lord, government would let him go. It's very disheartening that they've continued to persecute him even in death. So we continue to sympathize with the former First family, and in particular, the former First Lady, Madam Esther Lungu and family, for this continued harassment by the state.
The party made an announcement as soon as the president died. I think there was no clear leadership. There was no announcement from the president. The family had to make an announcement, I think, almost 8 hours after the president had died. And still more, there was no direction. The party was forced to begin hosting his family at the funeral at the party secretariat. And we only heard the voice of President Hakainde Hichilema 7 days later, after the president had died. And, do you think government has handled this matter very well from the onset? What is your reflection?
The handling of this matter, Ambassador, has been very poor on the part of government. The late President Edgar Chagwa Lungu is not the first former president, to die. So basically, there's been a custom, been a tradition now, a death of a former president is handled. And after a prolonged silence from government, the vice president, who is now the acting president of the Patriotic Front party, could not sit idle. He realized that there was a gap in leadership and he needed to provide leadership. And he quickly made arrangements, to set up the secretariat as a mourning place for those that were coming, from far-flung areas to come and mourn their beloved leader. So the handling of this matter on the part of government has been very, very poor from the start.
Yeah, clear. This could have been done better. It could have been done much, much better, much neater, without the scandal that has since preceded, the hate, the animosity, the ridicule even the country is receiving, where we are failing to allow or put to rest the former president. I'm glad that the family said they will stand by the decision of the family. The Patriotic Front has stood by the decision of the family. If the family chose to bury in Zambia, you stand by them. If they chose to bury in South Africa, you chose that you stand by the family. And I think so far you've done, as a party, a remarkable job standing for the family despite this onslaught of cyberbullying, of hate, lies. And just the other day we saw an application to the lawyers, to the family of President, the late President Edgar Lungu, where they want to see the body. A representative of the state needs to witness, inspect, and authenticate the body. I found this statement and this request very ridiculous. Who inspects the body when they die? Who certifies when a person dies? How did you respond to such a request by the Attorney General's lawyers when you saw that letter?
Yes, Ambassador. Firstly, this obsession by the UPND government to want to inspect the body is the very reason we are where we are now. You remember that the parties had reached some compromise when Secretary General was in South Africa, and we're all waiting and expecting the body, the mortal remains of the late president to arrive, if not mistaken, around the 18th of June, 2025. Now, because of this same obsession of wanting to inspect the body, somebody wanting to be the first to see the body, there were some changes to the initial agreement. There was some introduction of some procession, some strange church process at the airport, which was not part of the initial arrangements. And that is one of the reasons why the initial agreement collapsed. So that obsession to want to inspect the body has continued. But you and I, Ambassador, know that that nanguni kumushiba Mwamba lupwalu ya mkumono mubili. Imwe bonse, if the family decides that mamona ko mubili pa body viewing, that's the only time. The rest of the time is only the family. So it's very, very strange, and it's a source of concern to us all that the state, is determined to use all means possible to try and have a sight of the body. So that is indeed very strange.
Yeah. Let us quickly move to the state of the Patriotic Front. I think one of the reasons President Edgar Lungu came back to politics and his benefits, pensions were stripped and everything around him was taken away as a former president was because he made that decision on 28th October that he needed to rescue the party, he needed to help restore democracy because the party literally was stolen from the legitimate holders of the party. Where are we as a party, and just what are your reflections about these actions?
Yes, Ambassador, I think you remember that the last convention that we had was in 2021. Then we scheduled to have the next convention in 2026. Along the way, the party decided that it would have an extraordinary convention to get a new leader. And invitations for sparring, for applications were made, and 9 applicants responded. including yourself, Ambassador Mwamba. So halfway through, fast forward, there was a convention, there was some meeting at Mulungushi, which was facilitated by the state, going by the presence of the police that we saw, and the fact that the whole event was a broadcast live on ZNBC. Out of that event, Comrade Mao Sampa was pronounced as president of the party. Of course, that was contested in the courts. Initially, the courts granted us an injunction, which they later discharged, and the drama started with the courts. So we've been in and out of court, but sometime last year, we came to a compromise. I want to commend Comrade Mao Sampa, because he found time to sit with us, first of all, as members of parliament, and also found time to sit with the late President Lungu, where he made a decision that he was going to bring the party back. Bringing the party back, in that case, meant that we are going to go through some court process, sign a consent where he would state that the event that was held on the 24th of October was illegal because it was not in conformity with the provisions of the party constitution, and that any appointments, all appointments that were made in between were all null and void. So, Ambassador, that consent was signed by both parties, Comrade Sampa and ourselves as a party, and it was waiting for the judge to put the signature. It's now going into months, and we're wondering what the interest of the judge would be when the parties themselves have agreed, to bring this particular matter to an end. So we are all wondering why, the judge has continued in silence without signing that particular consent into an order, now that the parties had agreed.
In fact, this is a reason human rights organizations internationally have been citing President Hakainde Hichilema, that is shrunk the democratic process and that is entrenching a tyranny in our country. From the beginning of these cases, when there was this illegal conference, you went to court, obtained an injunction, sought the court's protection. That protection never came. That protection never came. In fact, none of the cases, whether it was your expulsion, whether it was, attempts to restore the party to legitimate owners, was ever respected. There was just prevarications in the judiciary, which brought the sad conclusion that the judiciary was participating in this theft of a political party. Here you are. You have resolved all the crises. And thanks to Honorable Mao Sampa, like you have stated, that he came and reconciled with the late president. He brought back the party. You made changes. You have signed between the two of you consent, where you've gone to a judge. The judge is merely supposed to append their signature. But Manson, nothing. I don't know what pressure you can do, because the judiciary is supposed to be your sanctuary, but the judiciary appears to be a participant in this, dastard attack on the Patriotic Front.
Yes, Ambassador, you can actually see a golden thread in all this that connects the executive arm of government, the judiciary, and indeed the legislature. If you remember, the moment there were those changes, the Speaker was very quick to make changes in Parliament and change the leader of opposition. At that time, on the list of office bearers, President Edgar Chagwa was your president, and other office bearers were as the list was initially. But there were quick changes, and drama that started High Court could only confirm one thing, that there was a community of mind, the executive, the judiciary, and the legislature in the PF matter. And that has continued to be the case. It has continued to be the case because even when we reconciled, we as the Patriotic Front decided to appoint or elect a Comrade Mwamba as the new leader of opposition. A letter was sent to Parliament, and as per judgment in the case of Honorable Mundubile, the court was very clear that the Speaker's role is to just read the letter that comes from the party leadership. So the party sent a letter to Parliament. Her role was just to read and ensure that Honorable Sampa took his seat. The Speaker has been hesitant. We have been to see her. There have been protestations on the floor of the House. But up to now, the Speaker has not announced the leader of opposition. So, like I said earlier, you can actually see that golden thread connecting all the three arms of government. So our state institutions, Ambassador Mwamba, have completely collapsed.
I know the party cannot discuss currently the future prospects of the of the Patriotic Front, your role in Tonse, all these things I think seem to have been altered until the matter regarding the late president is resolved when it's put to rest. I think it has brought uncertainty that we really can't discuss beyond this, because it is clear you are a party in mourning. Government has abandoned the role of mourning the late president, and the shoulders is on you, the Patriotic Front, and many ordinary Zambians. Probably we shift gear to your parliament, where you are a member, where you were unfairly, unjustly, and illegally removed as leader of the opposition. UN organizations have cited Parliament as one of the reasons there is a strong shrinking democratic process, because there is no freedom of expression. You are severely punished at every turn. You have your colleagues that have lost their seats in an unfair manner. Just give us a picture of your parliament. I know you don't discuss yourselves, but you can give us a window.
Yes, Ambassador, as you've rightly pointed out, I think many of the viewers that are watching now will agree with us, that Parliament is not the same. The Parliament that they knew in the previous years and the Parliament that they're experiencing are totally different. So there is no parliamentary democracy on the floor of the House. You realize that members are always interrupted whenever they are tendering their discourse on the floor of the House. Presiding officers would occasionally join in, just to interrupt and disturb the flow of debate. So as a result of this, Ambassador, some of the problems and challenges we're facing today as a country are as a result of a non-functioning parliament. I'll give you an example. Problems of load shedding, for instance, problems of food security, problems in the mining sector as a result of a non-functioning parliament. We had an issue to do with shortage of drugs around 2022. Members of Parliament on a daily basis would put a question to the minister concerning the shortage of drugs. The presiding officers became very protective of government, and they would discourage a disturbance, sometimes even punish MPs for asking these questions. We warned the presiding officers that before long, some of these challenges that the members are bringing on the floor of the House will come to the fore. Because what must be remembered, Ambassador, is that these MPs are people's representatives. Their role is to represent the people that sent them to Parliament. So when you have a problem, an issue that keeps coming, it's incumbent upon Parliament to ensure that the ministers who are supposed to respond to those particular questions attend to those questions. In this particular case, it did not happen. When we pushed on, the Speaker was forced to assemble a team, a committee that went around, looked at a number of health facilities, and that particular committee was chaired by
Yes, Honorable.
the
Is the network is acting up?
From what we see, what we read, they are handling the funeral in the manner African funerals must be handled, to respect the dead, to bury them with dignity. President Buhari died in London. He was brought home. We too have shown that example by burying all the 5 before the 6th president, near here. I think it's just behind, isn't it? Near here, all the 5. So we've established a tradition, protocols in line with the African culture. So we must continue with that culture, no matter what challenges, what difficulties there are. And I can't say that we'll continue to engage in the family quietly. Maybe I should confirm that. We'll continue to engage in the family quietly, because that's what it should be. And we do hope that consensus will be reached. And I want to ask Zambians, first, thank you for your patience, and secondly, to ask you to retain that patience as discussions continue. I know we have a shortage of land on so-called state land, titles. We want to create land on title properly, not taking a plot that belongs to State House, at State Lodge, and rezone it and allocate it to friends. Really? Someone can take land in State Lodge which they already know that is a controversial area. And really somebody is signing a title deed on land that belongs to the state already? More importantly, under this president? Icona, you don't survive when you do those things. You just don't survive. You just don't survive.
We seem to have an internet glitch, but we'll try. Whatever they try, the program will succeed. And Honorable Brian Mundubile, the president has brought a number of controversial bills to your parliament. Some have gone through. The Cyber Security and Cyber Crimes Act, for example, has gone through this CCTV Act. Very, very repressive, very bad laws that are taking away our democracy. Some have failed, like the famous Bill 7, and now we saw the withdrawal of Bill 13. The president is talking about land, and clearly that law was targeted at the people he's mentioning of how he was going to take away land from State Lodge area and others. What is your take about this attempt literally to legislate tyranny in our country?
Yes, it's very, very unfortunate, Ambassador, and I'm happy to report that members of Parliament from both sides of the House stood firm in rejecting Bill 13. I also want to confirm to you that in as much as Bill 7 came on the floor of the House, it was also a bill that was destined to fail. Yeah, so we must question, the intention of President Hakainde Hichilema when he brings, bills like Bill 13. Members of Parliament from his own camp wondered really what the president was trying to do. But most importantly, Ambassador, it takes us back to what his position has been on Bill 7. We all know. I mean, we've amended constitutions in this country before, and we also know that President Hakainde Hichilema, when he was in opposition, he was very strong. He vehemently objected to Constitution Amendment Bill number 10. And if you go back to his arguments, you realize that he's faced a bone of contention was that there wasn't enough consultation. Now, he was referring to a process, for instance, that started with the National Democratic Stakeholder Summit at Mulungushi. There was the Siavonga meeting in Siavonga. Then Ministry of Justice had gone around the country, to get views from stakeholders. Thereafter, the Minister of Justice presented a bill on the floor of the House to legislate the process. Remember that this particular process on Constitution Amendment Bill number 10 was a product of consultations. But to ensure that we built trust in the minds of stakeholders, that particular process was brought in form of a bill on the floor of the House and enacted into law. That is what governed the National Dialogue Forum and many other processes. I've gone that far, Ambassador, to just try and show that the President Hakainde Hichilema, who went on rooftops to say that there wasn't enough consultation, when it came to Bill 7, everybody's shocked. The President just landed at Kasama Airport and mentioned that he had agreed with the women that there should be constitutional amendments. The next time he was in Mongu, he said he had agreed with the youths and said that they had consulted on constitutional amendments. So it was a source of concern to many, because if President Hakainde Hichilema condemned the processes under Bill 10, we would have expected him to go an extra mile, in conducting consultations with the stakeholders. We were expecting that President Hakainde Hichilema would first of all engage with civil society, so that stakeholders meetings are held, where firstly it should have been agreed that stakeholders were ready or intended to amend the Constitution. After agreeing to amend the Constitution, the stakeholders should now have agreed on the extent of those amendments. After agreeing on the extent of the amendments, they should have further agreed on the scope of those amendments. And then with all these processes, the next process really was for the Minister of Justice, just as a facilitator, to bring a bill on the floor of the House that, a bill for the roadmap. So, Honorable Mwamba, these are basic principles in constitution making, in modern constitution making. They are what are called immutable principles in constitution making. And broad and wide participation is among them. Transparency and accountability, legal framework, are among the principles that are strictly observed, in formulating modern constitutions. So we therefore wondered why President Hakainde Hichilema rushed, to bring this particular bill to Parliament. But the moment the bill was gazetted, we all now became clear as to why this particular bill was shrouded in secrecy. If you looked at the clauses in that particular bill, honestly speaking, we are a constitutional democracy. We were a one-party state over 30 years ago, and we've come this far. And that particular bill, if enacted into a constitution, then we would have gone 30 years back. So I'm happy that the Constitutional Court rendered its judgment on that particular bill. I know that President Hakainde Hichilema continues referring to that process as merely being deferred. But the position of the law is that that bill is dead. It doesn't matter what President Hakainde Hichilema would want to do. Bill 7 is dead and never to be resurrected. But what was very disappointing, Ambassador, was that the Speaker of the National Assembly, like I said, there seems to be a community of minds between the legislature and the executive. The Speaker made a ruling on the floor of the House. And the ruling was such that whenever the promoter of that particular bill wants it to come back, it will actually come back. The Speaker was hiding behind a common law doctrine, called exclusive cognizance, which ideally offers protection to parliamentary processes, the day-to-day running of internal processes of Parliament. But that particular doctrine, Ambassador Mwamba, cannot be higher than the Constitution. So we were all shocked as members of Parliament respecting the doctrine of exclusive cognizance, but that is not to say, Parliament is immune, from constitutional scrutiny. So we are happy that Bill 7 is out of our way, and we are also happy that Bill 13 is also out of the way. We, however, remain alert, Ambassador Mwamba. You know what happened over the cyber laws. They were temporarily deferred, and on one afternoon towards Christmas, Comrade Jack Mwimbu just sprung up and the bill was on the floor. So we're all caught off guard, and that's how we have these very bad laws, bad laws that are in conflict with the Bill of Rights, as it were. Yeah, so we have a number of challenges in Parliament, ranging from the issues that we've just outlined, but most importantly, the members of Parliament are not enjoying parliamentary democracy. The members of Parliament from the opposition are not able to represent their people freely, and as a result of that, the country has found itself in a number of challenges, including food security, load shedding, the sale of mines, among others. At a later stage, Honorable Ambassador, I will be discussing sector by sector the challenges that we're facing as a country, and how these challenges, that we're facing could have been stopped if we had a functioning Parliament.
There is another worrying bill, like the CCTV bill, but there's another bill that I noticed yesterday in Parliament that has gone to third reading stage. The bill to increase the number of judges in the superior courts. They are proposing to increase the number of judges in the High Court from 60 to 100. And in the Court of Appeal, the number is rising from 19 to 31. And in the Constitutional Court, the number is rising, I think, from 10 to 13. And the bill passed third reading yesterday. The implications here is that the president, in the manner, for example, he appointed members of the Constitutional Court and Appeals Court, that is going to flood the courts just literally with what we would call cadres. This is a very, very worrying bill, and it seems to have passed under the radar. And there are many laws like this that are being passed. Here it is without wide consultations with stakeholders. We know the workload of the judges. I think they are overwhelmed, and the limited number of courts that we have. We really need a lot of courts. But first, you have not resolved this issue, just like it was on Bill 13, where the president wanted numbers of nominated MPs to be expanded literally to 45. If you take into consideration the 8 to 10, then the 12 youths, the 20 MPs, there was no mechanism. He was literally going to appoint up to 45 MPs. This bill also must have caused you worry. Have you discussed it? It is already at third reading stage.
Yes, Ambassador. I mean, if you look at the last appointment of judges, there were judges who did not even qualify to be appointed as judges according to our constitution. I remember there's one judge in the High Court. He had not even he had not clocked 10 years at the bar as required by the constitution, and he was appointed judge. The committee that was scrutinizing these appointments tried to object to the ratification of this particular appointment, but they've been using the arrogance of numbers to bulldoze through these appointments. You also know that the vice president of the Constitutional Court, he also did not qualify, to be appointed as a judge of the Constitutional Court, because some of the requirements are that one should have qualifications in constitutional law and human rights. And that particular individual did not have those qualifications. Even the Law Association of Zambia objected to that particular appointment. But the appointment went ahead, and that particular judge is sitting in the Constitutional Court. So indeed, it's a very, very sad state of affairs in our country. Ambassador, the members of Parliament are trying to do what they can. but are being defeated because of arrogance of numbers. This is not expected. We expect that even when the UPND has numbers in parliament, they must be able to make appointments. The people that are appointed as judges should be people that qualify. The people that receive recommendations from professional bodies, the Law Association of Zambia, and of course many other relevant institutions. Not in a case where individuals are handpicked and are meant to sit at the bench when they don't even qualify. So we are very worried because the numbers are many, and we know that from the experience that we've had, we are not even afraid to say that some of those judges that will be appointed will be judges who would have been waving UPND party symbols in these by-elections that we've been having recently. This is the case that we've had. We've had people that are seen in party regalia, and a few months down the line, you actually find that you're appearing before them. So it's indeed a source of worry for our judiciary.
Yeah, we need to be alert. Literally, we are, is legislating tyranny and literally one-party state right before our eyes, and it's a matter of concern. Which now brings me to the role of the opposition. Clearly, the state of the country is worrying from all indicators. Let me give you an opportunity to give a country the profile of the country as you see it.
As a country, Ambassador, we are in trouble. We are in trouble. We are facing a number of challenges, and top amongst those challenges is corruption. The high levels of corruption in our country, the record is unprecedented. I will look at the various sectors, Ambassador. But for us to properly discuss the issue of corruption and what is happening in our country, what Parliament is unable to stop in terms of corruption, we first of all must define and understand corruption for what it is. You see, corruption is a much broader concept than the mere taking and payment of bribes. It actually covers all actions that put private interest above public interest. And this will be in relation to legislation, policy, and administration. It's very, very important that we understand this broader concept, the broader definition of corruption. So some of the things that we've just finished discussing are actually fall under this particular definition. Because what the UPND government now is doing, if they want to grab land, they will grab land using corruption. And that corruption that they will use will come by way of legislation, like the Bill 13 that they were trying to sponsor. They were targeted parcels of land that they were trying to grab from people. And the only way to do that was through corruption. And as per this new definition, that particular corruption was going to come by way of legislation. So we must be very, very alert. So we are looking at Zambia in trouble. We are looking at a country that is in trouble. If you look at, for instance, the health sector, Comrade Emmanuel Mwamba, you will agree with me that at the time that Parliament moved in to try and resolve the challenges in the health sector, the members of Parliament were frustrated on the floor of the House by presiding officers. And that was done deliberately, because anything members of Parliament say against the sitting government, the first people to react are presiding officers. Now, presiding officers are referees. These are umpires who are expected just to regulate the flow of debate. But they are the ones that provide answers to the issues that are brought on the floor of the House. We started talking about ZAMSA. We started talking about supply of medicines a very long time ago. But here we are now. We have a forensic report done by PricewaterhouseCoopers highlighting corruption and theft of drugs in the health sector amounting to over about 700 million kwacha. Now, if you follow the report on that particular forensic audit, Ambassador Mwamba, you find that this particular, these thefts and acts of corruption were actually designed because it started by Ministry of Commerce arranging a meeting between the Ministry of Commerce and pharmaceuticals. They agreed on what they called a mop-up exercise, where they should mop up X stock within the country to improve the stock levels of our drugs in our hospitals. So this meeting, first of all, had nothing to do with Ministry of Health. It's a meeting that was started by Ministry of Commerce. So once these pharmaceutical companies submitted the stock that they had, then they created a story that what was needed, the needs assessment was exactly as was assessed between the pharmaceuticals and Ministry of Commerce. But I want to tell you that the procurement of medicine is a preserve of ZAMSA. They do the planning, they do the needs assessment, so there was no recourse to any reports at ZAMSA. Ministry of Commerce arranges a meeting with suppliers of medicines. Initially, people thought this was an opportunity for the local manufacturers to supply drugs to the Zambian government. And yet the meeting was arranged with retailers and wholesalers. So basically, it was an act of corruption to force drugs from these retailers who were charging exorbitant prices, and they forced these particular drugs on government. That is just one. I mean, the American ambassador, of course, rendered his report regarding the thefts of drugs donated by the US government. So if our parliament was given a chance, Ambassador Mwamba, if the presiding officers were allowing opposition members of parliament to deliver their discourse, to be able to debate freely on the floor of the House without being interrupted, some of these challenges that we're facing today would have been stopped. When you go to the mining sector, Comrade Emmanuel Mwamba, in the mining sector, this sector is a crime scene because you have, for instance, the sale of Mopani, where a state asset as big as Mopani is just transferred for free without any consideration by the people that take over those shares. I want you to continue referring to the definition of corruption, not to be a mere payment and taking of bribes, but to cover all actions that put private interest above public interest in relation to legislation, administration, and policy. So the corruption under the UPND is actually designed. It's actually designed because the issue of Mopani, there is no way of explaining it, Honorable Emmanuel Mwamba. You know very well that the Constitution is very clear under Article 210 that any disposal or transfer of a state asset must be subject of parliamentary approval. So this did not happen. This did not happen. So this is the country that we are looking at today. If you go to the agriculture sector, we are still on corruption. On the floor of the House, we argued with our friends in the executive that even if they found 1.5 million tons of maize in those warehouses, we advised them against exporting that maize because the late President Edgar Chagwa Lungu and his government had projected that there would be future droughts. You remember, Ambassador Mwamba, that we had a drought in 2015, we had a drought in 2017, and in 2018. As a result of that, government made a decision that we will be stocking up maize to last at least even 2 seasons. That is to say, in the event that we have a prolonged drought for even 2 seasons, we should at least be food secure. But when our friends came in government, the first thing they did, because they're in the habit of selling things, the first thing that they did was to start exporting maize. We rose on a number of occasions on the floor of the House. They wouldn't listen. All that maize was exported. And the result was the food insecurity, the hunger, the high food prices, as it were. So all these things, Ambassador Mwamba, are revolving around corruption. If you look at the energy sector, for instance, let's look at the energy sector. They started by shutting down Indeni. We advised them to say Indeni and the pipeline are there to provide a secured supply, a constant supply of fuel, because then you'll have a buffer of stock. If you remember, Ambassador Mwamba, under the PF, what happened was that we actually constructed a number of storage tanks. You would find them in Impika, you find them in Mongu, you find them in Solwezi, in Lusaka and other places. The idea was that taking advantage of the pipeline and Indeni would have enough fuel to last a couple of months in case of instability in the regions where we're importing this fuel. So the first thing they did was to shut down Indeni. And then they converted the use of the pipeline for finished products. But even when they did that, they made sure that this particular, the contract for the use of the pipeline was only given to one person, an individual who was friendly, to the EPND government. And what happened? The result were high fuel prices because he was overcharging. He was landing fuel at a very high cost, and yet he was using the pipeline. So when there was a push from the IMF, they opened the pipeline to what they called open access. Immediately, the prices of fuel started coming down. The question that we have as the Zambian people, for those years, for those months, that the Zambians continue paying for fuel at a premium because somebody was pocketing super profits. Who is going to pay for that? Zambians suffered, businesses closed because of high fuel prices. We were aware that the international oil prices were coming down, but the fuel prices locally continued going up, all because of corruption in the use of the pipeline. Now today, when you talk to the UPND government, they are going to tell you that they've invited an investor to invest in a refinery. They are also going to tell you that they have acquired shares in some refinery in Angola. Then you wonder, is there any wisdom in closing down your own refinery? Why didn't we invite those investors to get some equity in our refinery and expand it so that, as a country, we also benefit from the assets that we have? So now we are going to have this refinery, which will be able to supply Zambia's needs and beyond. Then you ask a question, what is going to happen to the pipeline? What is going to happen to Indeni? And what is going to happen to our newly acquired interests in Angola? So you are talking about a government that is driven by a private interest, over and above public interest. So most of the decisions that they make are those that benefit them directly. You can't see any Zambian in all these decisions that our government has been making. So we are indeed in trouble. We expect that going forward, even as Comrade Musokotwane, he was in Parliament not very long ago, to seek approval for a supplementary budget for 33 billion. We think that plus the continued borrowing is totally unnecessary. Comrade Musokotwane, the moment he assumed office as finance minister, the first thing that he did, the first 2 months that he assumed office, was to give a tax holidays to mining houses. He was very quick to reduce the mineral tax from 6% to 3%. He was very quick to make mineral tax deductible. Now, all these decisions, all these policies result in loss of revenue. Then you wonder, you look at FIC report, you are told 3.5 billion has left the country in illicit financial flows. And yet, on the other hand, the Zambians are asked to celebrate the approval of $184 million from the IMF. So we are now wondering, what the priorities of this government is. Because on one hand, we are losing so much revenue. Ambassador Mwamba, it's something that you and I have talked about. We have talked about that $2.5 billion which was transferred illegally, from this country by a mining house without board approval. And that particular matter was reported. Directors were arrested, detained, and later released. And Comrade Musokotwane later went and just withdrew the matter. Now, if you run some of these decisions, if you run them on the test of did he make the decision in private interest or private interest, you will only come to one conclusion. So we're indeed very worried with some of the decisions that our colleagues are making, especially in the sectors where we are supposed to benefit as a country. If you look at the decisions in the mining sector, I've just given an example. Look at the decisions in the energy sector. Look at the decisions in the agriculture sector. Look at the decisions in the health sector. So as a country, we are a country that is indeed in trouble, Comrade Emmanuel Mwamba.
Yes, indeed. Funny is that the UPND repeats the mistakes or alleged mistake of the Patriotic Front. They literally double them. They condemned Patriotic Front for borrowing. They've borrowed so much money in just a short period of just 3.5 years. They condemned the Patriotic Front of high prices of fuel, an unstable exchange rate. Well, it has been worse for them. In every line, for PF, it would export a maize when it knew it had sufficient maize in Zambia. They've exported maize. They're exporting power, even in light of this load shedding crisis that we've had, probably the worst in the last 60 years. Many callers were talking about feedback on my microphone. I hope it is better. You can write in the comments. If it is better, I'll know if the echo is gone. Honorable Mundubile will do this. We'll be opening up phone lines. But before we do that, I just wanted your thoughts on unity of the opposition. When you catalogue what President Hakainde Hichilema is doing to the judiciary, to parliament, to democratic institutions such as and oversight institutions such as either Auditor General, Electoral Commission of Zambia, law enforcement agencies, this is a man who's literally a danger to our country. And Zambians are looking around, who can be our next leader? Who can be a set of team to rescue us from the UPND? And they've been looking to the opposition. I know in the Patriotic Front you are yet to resolve a leader. There's that process that probably will be undertaken when, after the issues around the late president are put to rest. But Zambians are calling for unity in the opposition, that probably you should come together, put up a team, and probably have one single candidate as a flag bearer. There are various alliances, Tonse Alliance, United Kwacha Alliance. There are other political parties like Socialist Party or Citizen First that are not even in any alliance. And, there's a disarray that is affecting the Patriotic Front. How do we resolve this issue? The people of Zambia, if you even see through the comments, they are looking to the opposition. It's like they have decided that President Hakainde Hichilema is gone. They are past that debate whether he should be re-elected or not. The issue is then who takes over from him. Have you had those thoughts? What do you think about unity in the opposition, to have probably a united front, a flag bearer, or a team? I don't know. What are your thoughts?
Ambassador Mwamba, the united opposition is a must. And I'm happy to report that this is something that President Edgar Chagwa believed in so much. When he came back into active politics, you remember the first statement that he made during President Michael Sata's memorial was that he was going to make efforts to bring the opposition political parties together. And I want to report that, so far, several meetings have been held. I want to report to you that I've equally met a number of these alliances and political parties. We've had meetings, for instance, with the Zambia We Want. I have had meetings with State Council Sakwiba Skota of UKA. Of course, in my capacity as the national chairperson for parliamentary affairs for Tonse, I've been reaching out and meeting with these various political parties. President Harry Kalaba is a man that I've met on several occasions, have had discussions with President Fred Membe. Yeah, so I think that the feedback that we're getting from there, Ambassador Mwamba, all of us as opposition political party leaders agree on one thing. And that one thing is that we must come together. We must come together, put our hands together, put our efforts together to ensure that, firstly, we remove the UPND. That's not the only objective. After removing the UPND, we can put the country back on a normal trajectory. We have looked at a number of areas, for instance. Look at the issues of human rights. You look at the corruption, as I was outlining the number of things that we're talking about. The collapse of state institutions, like the judiciary, the legislature, and indeed the executive itself. Because if you look at civil service has practically collapsed. Because what has happened now is that, outsiders are put in key positions. So these are some of the things that we are talking about as opposition political party leaders, and we are in a hurry, to ensure that we find a common ground, come together, find a common candidate, and be able to go into that election, with that particular candidate. So it's an idea that we have all cherished. It's an idea that we are busy working on in the background. Of course, some details can be disclosed at platforms such as this, but I want to assure you that we're in active talks with other leaders, as it were.
Yeah, wonderful. Thank you very much. I think let's open the phone lines and we hear from you. The number to call is 0973 078082. I'm hosting Leader of the Opposition in Parliament, Honorable Brian Mundubile. He's Mporokoso Member of Parliament. He holds various positions in the Patriotic Front and in Tonse Alliance. He's here to discuss the state of the Patriotic Front, the state of the country, and the 2026 elections. Before callers come in, Honorable Brian Mundubile, there are concerns that we probably may not have an independent arbiter in the Electoral Commission of Zambia. I think you will hear this matter to come up to the callers. They are very worried. You have Brian Kasaro, who's a chief electoral officer, who was accused of attempting to manipulate results in 2016 for the benefit of the UPND. He was one of the senior directors then at the Electoral Commission of Zambia. He's now in charge. For the first time, you have a non-judge, because we've always had the High Court judge or Supreme Court judge as chair. Now we have an individual, a renowned lawyer, politician, who now is heading the ECZ. Then you have individuals like McDonald Chipenzi. And then the activities that have taken place, your party has been banned from participating in by-elections. They came up with some funny rule that the certificate should be signed by the President and Secretary General, when in the past, just people at local constituencies and local ward areas were the ones to sign for those certificates. So they did that to disenfranchise, because they knew that they had changed the leadership at the top. Recently, they are saying because you are not participating in elections, because they've given a certificate to Robert Chavinga, the expelled Mafinga MP, and they are saying your members should not even wear party regalia. Ken, is it possible for this current ECZ to deliver a free and fair elections? So let me just take calls and you come and answer my question. I can see there are so many calls already. Good evening, caller. Please tell us your name and where you are calling us from.
As usual, Patrick Chilusha from the UK. Honorable Mundubile, fantastic to have you on this program. And I can see you're a leader. And true leaders are unifiers. And the fact that you're talking about opposition unity You are indeed a true leader, and that's what all Zambians are expecting. I'm not just an ordinary Zambian living in the UK. I know everything happening in Zambia. I've been researching about Zambia, why Zambia is so poor. And last time I was in Zambia, I traveled from Livingstone up to Zambezi, and I met Ambassador Mwamba at the car wash in Lusaka. And all Zambians are saying the opposition needs to unite, and they need to give us a credible person as a flag, as a presidential candidate. Because, you know, Mundubile, HH has actually raised the bar, in a negative way, has raised the bar of who should rule Zambia next time. You know, all those promises and everything has just eroded the trust of Zambians. So Zambians are looking at the next president with character, integrity. The bar is so high. But then I just want to talk about a few things. And, you know, one of the things I wanted to talk about, you talked about corruption, which is so bad. And but I differ to agree with you on corruption. Corruption, through my research, long research over 20 years, I've come to discover that corruption is a symptom of bad leadership. And the moment you start looking at corruption from that angle, you're going to solve a lot of problems. Because what we've been doing for so many years, I will give an example. Minister of Health, 2008, Dr. Bulaya was jailed. One of the first ministries where a permanent secretary was jailed. Kakopo was jailed. Almost 20 years along the line, same things are happening. So what we've been doing is, all along, we've been trying to cure a symptom, which is corruption, forgetting about the real disease, which is poor leadership. So not until we cure that leadership issue, because there's a difference between a politician and a leader. And not until we bring leadership into politics, we will not cure this disease called corruption. Because corruption in Zambia is a systemic problem. And that systemic problem requires leadership and also requires deep systemic change. You know, and it's a cost, it's a governance cost. Actually, economists would call corruption as an opportunity cost. It's a foregone cost. So, I'll give an example why corruption is a symptom of leadership. You touched about one of the things. HH cannot fight corruption because he's not a leader. Why? Because a leader sets a tone in fighting corruption. Why hasn't HH set up a tone? One, the first thing is he refused to declare his assets. That's the first indicator that HH is not a leader, because corruption is lack of transparency and accountability. If you know that the biggest anti-corruption institution in the world is called Transparency International, and you mentioned something about Mopani. Look at how that process was not transparent. No accountability, no transparency, no adherence to the rule of law. That's so. HH, this corruption you see now, is HH who is making that corruption, because everybody can see that corrupt Mopani deal smells corruption.
Already the missed calls have jumped to 101. So
okay, let me just finish Mwamba on an important thing, the Electoral Commission.
Yeah.
So, Mundubile, I pray that the next government, the first thing they should do is a commission of inquiry on Mopani, because Mopani smells a rat. Then last but not the least, Mundubile, Mwamba has talked about the most important thing, the Electoral Commission. But then, Mundubile, these institutions, the Electoral Commission is manned by a cadre. No matter how qualified they are still cadres. Anti-Corruption Commission is now manned by a cadre who was a permanent secretary. Probably DEC is also manned by a cadre. But our constitution says these institutions have to be independent. That's why they call it Independent Electoral Commission. So don't you think, Mundubile, we need to start fighting this now?
Thank you. Thank you, Patrick. No. You can come back. You can come.
Let me just finish, Mwamba. Let me just finish.
They'll kill me. I've got so many calls. Hello, please tell us your name and where you are calling us from.
Thank you, Ambassador. My name is Isaac Mulezuma Njovu, and I'm calling in from United Kingdom.
Isaac, make your contribution. Please be brief. Be brief. Bachiluka is a senior leader, so I allowed him more time.
Thank you very much, Ambassador. Good evening, Honorable Brani Mundubile. My question, I'll go straight. Considering that today, as we speak, Zambia, in its form of a governance system, the leadership of the UPND under the President Hakainde Hichilema has managed to institutionalize all the governance system. Talk of the judiciary, the parliament itself, the National Assembly, which is the legislature, and going in all these other institutions of governance that have to check each other, the ECZ, the Registrar of Society. Every institution has been compromised, and to borrow from what he said if outsiders, it's not outsiders, but UPND cadres have been, of course, appointed in these critical governance, of course, institution positions. With your leadership, and I must say I appreciate you, sir, being one of the seniors.
Isaac, wind up. Isaac, wind up.
Also, not only you provide a voice for the Zambian people, no, not only for the people of Mporokoso, but the Zambian people. How are you, as a parliamentarians or opposition parliamentarians, considering you being one of the senior-most parliamentarians, how are you going to be, what avenues are you going to use? Because today, as we speak, all these institutions are seemingly to be blocking, could be the voices of could be a voice of Zambians or opposition Zambians who are coming with a voice that we need.
Isaac, I think we've got your point. We've got your point. We've got your point. Hello, good evening. Please tell us your name and where you are calling us from.
Hello, good evening, Ambassador.
Good evening. Please tell us your name and where you are calling us from.
Okay, my name is Florence. I'm calling you from Lusaka, Ibex.
Thank you. Thank you, Florence. Make your contribution.
Okay, it's really saddening what's really going around our country. You know, something that has never happened before. I don't know why this spell has come from, been casted actually in Zambia, but my encouragement is that you're doing your great work. We really thank God for you, but I just want to speak to Honorable Mundubile to say that we've received a lot of people saying that he would be a credible president, but for now, what I feel is for us to move out this dictator, we need to be united, the opposition and everyone and all the alliance to come up together so that come 2026, we just choose one.
Thank you, my dear sister. Thank you. I think our point is very clear. Honorable Mundubile chila diva pano mutwelele go chila diva. Hello, please tell us your name and where you are calling us from.
Hello.
Yes, please tell us your name.
Zephania from Lusaka.
Zephania, quickly make your contributions.
Yes. How are you, Honorable Mwamba?
Very well, my brother. Quickly go into your contribution.
All right. My contribution is that first and foremost, I want to thank Honorable Mundubile for coming out as a person who loves this country, and he has brought a lot of issues, and I'm happy the way he has come out. The question I have for Honorable Mundubile is that I have seen that KBN, they had done a research that
an opinion
is
poll.
one of the people who came number one. Yes. Now the question is that with this shrinking democratic space, rising public frustration, and the ruling party increasingly disconnected from the people, since I know that it's now pointing to him that he might be one of the PF who are going to stand for 2026. The question is that, do you believe you are the right man to challenge President Hakainde Hichilema in 2026? And if so, what sets you apart as the leader who can unite the opposition and restore constitutional order, economic hope, and public trust in this country?
Thank you, Zephania. Thank you. Hello, caller. Please tell us your name and where you are calling us from. Yes, my brother. Just a minute. Yes.
Can I continue?
Yes, continue, please.
Yes, I want to greet you, Honorable Mr. Mwamba.
Wonderful.
And to commend you the great job you are doing.
Thank you.
It is a privilege, Ambassador Mwamba, to have a man like Honorable Mundubile as a leader. I'm telling you, I've seen leaders before, leaders like Edgar Chagwalungu. They look as composed as Mundubile. And I'm telling you, this is the kind of leader that we've been missing to take charge. Not these people that we've been seeing. I'm telling you, let's try to make sure that we get to sell this man. This man looks very composed, matured, and he looks to be a very loving Zambian. The only thing that I want to add up on this important stream is that the fight is not against any each other, like Honorable Mundubile has put it. The fight is we should fight HH, who is making people to suffer on the copper belt. People are dying on the copper belt every day. People have got no access to food, high inflation rate. I'm telling you, it is very frustrating to stay in HH's time.
Thank you very much, my brother. Thank you very much. Hello, caller. May I,
Evening, Ambassador.
yes, kindly introduce yourself and make your contribution. Let's see how quickly we can get as many calls as possible.
I'm David Chukumbi and I'm calling from Mong Western Province.
Yes, my brother. Make your contribution.
Good evening and good evening, Honorable Mundubile.
Yes, he can hear you.
Thank you so much. I want just to find out from the Honorable Mundubile, since he has already told us how he went to talk to President Kalaba, and he went also to talk to President Freddie Membe. So I just wanted to find out from him, Honorable Mundubile, what assurance are you going to give us Zambians, that truly you people, you come together and make one concrete thing so that you can buy one candidate? What criteria are you going to use, or what are you going to tell us? Because enough is enough. We are tired. Honorable, it's like now we moved from the pan into the fire itself. And you, the leaders who we are looking unto, we have seen that, like when I look at Bakalaba seems like he's doing things in an isolation. When I look at Bamembe also seems like as if he just want to go somewhere like that. And that we don't want as Zambians. Millions of Zambians, they don't want that. Because we have seen this government that we have right now, they are very cruel. And all what we need is you opposition, you come together and you make one concrete thing in order to conquer these people. So what are you going to tell us? How are you going to convince us that you people, you are going to get united?
Thank you very much. Thank you. I've got Linda Banks. She's unable to call, but Linda Banks is a prominent journalist, very, very, very international journalist, and she does write-ups, and she was very instrumental in the 2026 elections. 2021 election, sorry. She's written, Honorable Brian Mundubile, Zambian politics is often marred by regionalism and tribal loyalties. What tangible steps will you take to build a national identity that transcends ethnic divisions and promotes unity and diversity? Zambia has experienced democratic backsliding, no doubt about it. Despite peaceful transitions of power, how will your leadership ensure institutional independence, particularly for key democratic institutions such as wings of government like the Judiciary, the Anti-Corruption Commission, the Electoral Commission, beyond rhetoric? There's another one. Hello, caller. Please tell us your name and where you're calling us from.
I'll remain anonymous for tonight, Ambassador.
Anonymous, make your contributions.
Thank you. I've got 3 questions for Honorable Mundubile in I would say policy and economic direction. So the first one is, as a member of the Tonse Alliance, Honorable Mundubile, what key economic reforms would you prioritize if your alliance wins the 2026 elections? Then the second one is, with the cost of living consistently high during the UPND reign, what practical measures would the alliance take to reduce inflation and just make the economic situation better in Zambia? And the third one is, what sectors does the alliance believe have been neglected, and how would you sort out the mess? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you very much. Let me take the last 3 calls, Honorable Brian Mundubile, for this session so that you have time at least to answer. Hello. Good evening. Please tell us your name and where you're calling us from.
Hello.
Good evening. Please tell us your name and where you're calling us from.
I'm Joseph Mbewe from Lusaka.
Mr. Mbewe, make your contributions.
Thank you very much. It's a privilege to be on this platform. I want to ask the question, what immunity does Robert Chavinga has for him to continue escalating when there was a court injunction where Mao Sampa sued Chavinga, and he continued to hold his press briefing whilst there was a court injunction? What immunity does Chavinga has? I submit. And who is the president for Patriotic Front?
Thank you very much. Thank you. Hello, caller. Please tell us your name and where you are calling us from.
Good evening, Ambassador Mwamba. My name is Anik Matipa.
Anik Matipa, please make your contributions.
A quick question to my brother, Honorable Mundubile. I would like to find out, in all this impasse of ECL's burial, what are other heads of states in the SADC region saying about it? You mean there's nobody in the SADC region that can sit down with this Zambian president of ours called Hakainde Hichilema to try and find a common ground and put ECL to rest accordingly? Thank you very much, Ambassador.
Did you introduce yourself or you were anonymous?
No, I'm not anonymous. My name is Anik Matipa.
Aren't you the one whose family was disrespected when you had the funeral?
Correct, yes.
You are unique. Honorable Brian Mundubile, this caller is very unique. They had the funeral. Their father died, and President Hakainde Hichilema was working for Grant Thornton, and he was a liquidator administrator, and he evicted the funeral of this family. This Anik Matipa is very unique. So Anik, let me just ask you a question. Are you surprised that the president has behaved this way? Because you were a victim. Hichilema was young in his career, but he evicted you from that. Maybe just recount that story briefly, quickly.
He didn't actually evict us. He locked the funeral house.
Yeah, just
we came from burying my father. My father was a general manager of Intercontinental Hotel, and I took him to Zimbabwe, where he eventually died, brought him back to Zambia, and we held a funeral. went to bury my father. When we came back, we found the funeral house locked, you know. And I left the mourners and I went to Grand Thornton and I saw Mr. Hakainde Hichilema in his boardroom. First of all, he started by, they were all speaking in Tonga. And I said to Mr. Hakainde, I don't understand. Could we please use English? He says to me, nobody stops you from learning Tonga. I said, Mr. Hakainde, if I went to school in Southern Province, I probably would have been the best Tonga speaking. Hello?
Yes, we can hear you.
Enough?
Yes, you are. Yes, you are.
I would have probably been the best Tonga speaker. You can speak Nyanja and Bemba because you went to University of Zambia. Anyway, my father is dead. We've buried him. The funeral house is locked. I'm kindly asking you to open the funeral house. I remember vividly, Hakainde looked at his watch and said to me, we close at 4:15. Mark my words, we close at 4:15. Run around, look for the money, and come. I'll give you 2 officers to open the funeral house. I could not believe this. I left his boardroom. Indeed, I ran around and found the 4 million kwacha, which is now 4,000 kwacha rebased, paid the money, and he gave me 2 officers to open the funeral house.
So
I just couldn't.
My question is, are you surprised by his behavior during this funeral?
Not at all. Not at all. In fact, when after reading everything that is going on, the first time I saw it happen, I laughed. I laughed because I just remembered how he treated my family. It has now become like a broken record. But I'm not lying. He knows about it. He knows about it. And if I'm lying, you can even go and ask my very good friend, Garin Kombo. Garin Kombo was very much aware of this. In fact, he couldn't believe that had happened. He couldn't believe that had happened. This I'm talking about, it happened in 2001.
Yeah.
My father died on the 20th of May, 2001. We buried him, I think it was about a week later because we had to bring his body from Zimbabwe. So I'm not surprised. Yeah. And in Bemba, they say, "Uakale mataleka."
Thank you. Thank you for your view. He will answer your other question. Thank you, Anik Matipa. She has a very compelling story. Maybe we should bring her in light of what is happening. There's another last caller. We allow Brand Mundubile to answer the question. Caller, please tell us your name and where you are calling us from.
Hello?
Yes, caller, please tell us your name and where you are calling us from.
My name is Njero John. Good evening, Mr. Our President, Mr. Emmanuel Mwamba.
Good evening. Good evening.
Yes. One question to Honorable Mundubile. In case the Zambian people give you this mandate and power to rule this country, what will be your first position on the mines? Because to be a leader, first of all, you have to look at the resources God gave us, where we need to get our resources to improve the economy of the people. What will be the first position on the mines which has been messed up?
Thank you. Caller, please tell us your name, then we revert to Mr. Mundubile.
Okay, thank you, Ambassador. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Thank you. I'll remain anonymous. I'm calling you from Belgium.
Yes.
Honorable, it's a pleasure to see you.
Thank you.
Ambassador, mine is very short.
Yes.
And precise. This man is CBSM, courageous, bold, sober, and mature. Bakalambaba Mwamba, leaders Balamoneka. Babi Parewa Bamio Kwenda. Gawala Baretara cases, Twalambo, Fly Mama €1. I have my courts. Put him in the rail and let him go and challenge. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Honorable Brian Mundubile, there are a conglomerate of questions. Just mix them together and give us your answer.
Thank you very much, Ambassador. I will not tackle them in any particular order. I'll start with the question from Linda Banks. I think it's a very important question that will lead me to also tackle some of the questions that came before that. Yes, she talks about regionalism in our politics, tribalism, that has characterized our politics today. Yes, Madam Banks, this is indeed a very, very sad state of affairs. We have a country that is divided. And for us to begin to move forward, the priority is to unite Zambia. Uniting Zambia should not be to unite the country in words. We must unite Zambia indeed. So if you look at the many phone calls that we're receiving, they're all revolving around unity. So I think the situation we find ourselves in provides one very big opportunity. Coming together as opposition political parties with divergent views, backgrounds and so on, the first opportunity that this will give is that the many leaders that will come together will be coming from different regions. And that will be the first cure to regionalism. Because if you take a quick look at the current leaders in the opposition, you will agree with me that we have different leaders coming from different regions. And so far, we are talking to one another. We are agreed in principle that we are going to work together. So I think that the unity in the opposition, one of the things that it will cure naturally is this cancer that has rocked our country, the cancer of regionalism, the cancer of tribalism. So when we come together as opposition political parties, we'll ensure that we tackle the division that has manifested its ugly face in our country. So to answer that question, I know very well that the many opposition political parties that leaders that we've talked to, if I were to count them, they are all coming from, most of them are actually coming from different areas within the country. So you also talked about institutional independence. Yes, like we discussed earlier, we know that we have a lot to be desired when you talk about the judiciary, when you talk about the legislature, when you talk about the executive itself, the civil service, talk about institutions like the ECZ, even watchdog institutions like Auditor General's Office, you have much to be desired. So the question is, what assurance are we giving that if we're given an opportunity as an alliance to tackle some of these things? The beauty is that where we are coming from, looking at the many submissions coming from the people, they are highlighting the many challenges that they have observed with the current government. And chief among those are the collapse of these state institutions. So the manifesto of the United Opposition will be crafted in such a manner that it responds to the challenges, first of all, that people have brought about, and not for the sake of earning a vote, but for purposes of resolving these particular challenges. The reason is, in any given political dispensation, we talk about manifestos. Really, this is the product that we're going to have to sell. So one of the products, Madam Linda Banks, that we're going to sell, we're going to talk about unity. And unity not only in opposition, we are going to bring about unity across tribes. The true one Zambia, one nation will be our aim. We'll aim at one Zambia, one nation, and we'll also aim at putting back these state institutions back on track. So the
Honorable leader, let me just run through another set of calls. The phones are jammed. Let's just allow our people to talk. Caller, please tell us your name and where you are calling us from.
Good evening, Ambassador Mwamba. This is Anonymous from the land of AI.
Anonymous, thank you very much. Make your contribution.
Yes, thank you, sir. It's good to have you, Honorable Mundubile, on this show. It's an honor. Honorable Mundubile, you stand as a knowledgeable and objective leader, and it is great to see, and I wish to commend you for that. So, so let me just get straight to the point. There are several political parties, and a lot of people are posturing for presidency. I know that you are a favorite of some of, a number of PF members, yeah? My question is, would you be open to a pre-election primary that would involve the public to try and pick the most suitable leader with the highest likelihood to take the presidency away from the undertaker? And secondly, the UPND are making maneuvers. We've been seeing photos today flying around. They are buying musicians and celebrities, and those who they cannot buy, they are threatening them and frustrating them. And we have seen how they are stamping out dissenting views. We have seen the abductions and, the seditious practices cases, and, they keep coming. What plans do you have to ensure that your supporters are protected and that your message is spread for those who must speak for you, and so that work on your behalf can continue going, because you cannot win an election in silence? That's my question, and thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Hello, caller. Please tell us your name and where you're calling us from.
Thank you, Mkwai. Good evening, Ambassador Mwamba.
Good evening.
Kaputa Mkwai.
Mwewe na kaputa mulishani.
Tubifye fino fine, tubelosha, shkubale tusunga.
Ndina waneba wenu aba kumuporokoso.
Kwa Mporokoso Mkwai.
Mkwai.
Twatotera sana pakuleta ntungrushi shonse shimulele tana. Fyo mwalitele ba muhabi mailo. Please mukababu na futi bakapuishi shokwa sukefingino kulondolola.
Mkwai.
Nomba icho natumina ni fifine ntungrushi, sorry, ama citizens bose balelando kulilo kutila ba opposition umfwaneni. Inande komkwaya kakantu akanono kuli ba Honorable Mundubile. Honorable Mundubile, ilo PF yalushile, UPND frafine bafika panapo bali. PF uteko bwantanshi, ukulusa uteko, nama seats ayo mwalushile nayo. Katushinga winine 67 or 57 or 59 or 60. MMD, ilo pokero uteko kuli PF, mwalichishishu, sheli hapa nono sana. UNIP ilo winine, sorry, MMD ilo winine UNIP. Sheshi UNIP nga shereko na MP mu Parliament.
Back with 25, MMD lost and remained with 53, PF lost with 60 seats.
Okay, 60 seats iliyo mkwaye kwa batimo ba PF mwali kweteko kushashala ko baba pali bonse abalusapo. Nomba ubu buteko bwashire ba UPND bashire na kalwimbo kakwilumba. Bali fonsefyo bachita ati we are the first government. We are the first government. Nero chine te ba first government to have achieved icha msango ngaicho balelanda po. Na papene lekenyu lwimbo lwabo ulwakutia they are the first government. They are the first one. Lekeni babe ba first government, ruling party among governments of Zambia to only serve one term and go forever. Bantu, if you look if you are fluffy, kushinda na kumfa ya kwa forma gateka, tuleti ntanafie. Mwe bantu bakwalesa ba opposition, ala ikata neni weshanyeni, umaneni akapi, if you are balanda. Esheni sana die to self nangu walimu na tuleta ulanda nangu ibusheni ifine kyakano kulanda nabantu tufishishe kubwafya bwalero bakuti ba echi nomba baba binda kuba lupo na kumwine wanfua ati yo yeke sando shako. We don't want this thing to repeat to life history ya Zambia mwe bantu abana besu nabeshikulu besu ba Mundubile penshi twala abashila ifi akula pana ati ababeke soko ababeka chitefi kaweshanyeni kawikishanyeni bonse ba opposition ama parties ayashateekapo namwe banteekapo ba MMD abalimu abayikumbi Kenya kuli imwe twalubira ko fe ntungulushi yabo ba Reverend Nevas Mumba tatwishi bomutima wabo but nga muri abaleso mukamo bonse namita ukubelenge chipingo pali apo kali akapondo palupanda kile chipondo chikulu cha live ati weyeless mwana lesa iwenga wachipususha na ifo watipususha kala akapondo mukuichefya katile mwe Yesu na ine mukanji bukisha mu paradise kale pepepe polya mu future tense mukanji bukisha kuntanshi ba Yesu bayasukati awe ilelo lini mu paradise tuleba na iwe ichi chile tulanga ukulapila nokulombo bwelelo na ngubu sanso bukoseshani lesa ni lesa ile wa mukuta ko kutira sontule alatula ilo nelo waitule membo shobe wanakirira mu mutima alatuwesha Rod Gosani bali mu bwese chef ya papene ba ushi bampera n'icyuma cyose kisuma na imwe bene mwe bateka po nefirugo twamikata ba PF kwamposa na kunse nomba twabwesha amano mwana kasembe kakukobeka wabwela kakukoma wabwela wakobeka ni Yesu Kristo wabeleli lokumulombo kubelela alelele ishita yonse ala ba honorable Mundubile tulipanshi tulepaka nifa ba vota nifo mwingala fikulu mifuka minati tu vote nomba nifo ba vota today mi papa doktila kabiye ni mumfwane we shall campaign well says the Nigerian ati tuka campaign na wino
Mayo, Natasha sana leke ntumpe kona kulibambi mwalondolola. Thank you very much. Hello, please call tell us your name and where you are calling us from.
Freddy Tematema, I'm calling from England.
Fred Tematema from England. Make your contribution, my brother.
Thank you. Bonse babirina mutotera muri mfumu. Icho ndefo kumweba me busho na masuko. Bushe mwalibala mutontonkanya pokutira. Ulumbolo wa chishipa. Mwabenshi. Ichi mbwa mulumbolo wa chishipa ni unity. Kanshi ne vifine tuchite fifia kulatila. Ini pate mwakuti kuntanshi nde mwebo kwebati shirika sesema lelo tukesa fipiribula mwana Mwamba wino
iyo tuleo umfaba ne tuleo umfwa tofa msondwelele wangu
kuntanshi bifire mwambire na Mwamba fye bwino na totela.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
What is the opposite of politics? What is the opposite of economics? Abamule monaba hakainde cho bafirirwe. Bansambire kisambiro cha economics. Economics yaba base pali scarcity. Ubusu fyayambile kunu kubasungu. Ukwali ubuchushu bwile bwa kutila. Patebu bapa kupenda utumipusa twanama kupendelela fyafine fyafuma kuri o economicos. Kanshi icho tufiro kuipusha kutila. What is the opposite of politics? Inena izasa ngokwebati politics ichafuma kuri poli ichi Greek ni city state ngafyafi aba Athens. Eno naisa ipusha ushe economics chinshi nasasa ngobati aba base muri scarcity. Na alizasa ngokwebati ichabulira muri political thinking. Tualisa posa baisha mfumu. Tualisa posa na ama value ya mumushi. Ufiposa ngaba sungu ifyo bachita. Bala fita rustic. Rustic chimono uluselinga batu kutukokobati. Bena mishaba. Apapene ukumule mona wali abalinga kainde teshi befya ntambi. Teshi bena okuchindike chiriro. Ale sarula abantu na abafuirwa. Chimbi chakutila. Ifwe mwezi mu Afrika tamwabo bubusu. Tualikuwa tefima resources ifingi chile chisambio cha economics tufile tuwafunyana muma university na muma college tuwalafunde chisambio chipia ichi aba opposite ya economics ichi akufunda fya kuchita manage wealth abundance wotu wakwata muli ya Mzambia na mchalo cha Afrika fya wupuva fya wu economics tuola fichita glamorize sana wupuva antuifwe kuti tuwe wa menshi aya wulo mchele ukwichilaka na chituikata abana besu balefa kuri ba malnutrition yaba kusana ba kwa shoka ba marasmasi ini umushiritu walikuwa tefime shaba ni mbwe ba mineral na tukwata uya kainde ale amukushitisha ba mineral ale amukushitisha ba mineral kuleta mo ama company ya kunze foreign direct investment icho muntu endera okufuma kumwako kuyaya kuchalo chimbini mukutira mumwabo tete apange ifyo fintu fima profit engapanga ukuchira kulele twalo lupia. Ushecho tushinga shitila ba mashini bakuyayingisha mulyamu mayi umuntu yaba ukupatwambira okusambisha abache pa University of Zambia metallurgy finchi ushekana ufitule bikamano muri foreign direct investment kufika na pale ukuba fwe bantu fwe bakuru fwe batsambirire chine bamundubile ba imano mulebe obonsabeleisa ifitu chitata mwaba mano kabili tufune twaisuka national ya president tukafunyeko chi constitution chitwa chinja twabika mona mashui ayengalenga lwetontonkanya wino nokuchita plan ifintu ifile pela mano tukalete ko strategist tatwaishiva na enemy wesu ifwe yo echo tulana amukupelera amamine kuma company afuma kuno kubulaya
Shukulu kwa hiyo Natasha sana
ule mwana ba general twakwata mwame Latina ile separation yabapo it was a colonial plot ya kushita separate the military from civil society nomba nga mwaisa afunya ba strategist aba ishiba wino yele bati military precision thinking mwabafunya muri equation ya kuchita plan for the economy. In fact kandi kino kulande fyo mwebe cyo nasasanga ila ministry tutila ministry of defense tufetwa chinjeshia ikabiri magistrate ngafiyenkoko isa mukubiko twananga yabona pungwa pamulu twabutuka tonse twasa mapindo ayonza aba ministry tuka kaba ma minus and tu makuli minus ngatutila -1 small minute.
Shukulu, can I propose you are proposing very, very deep thinking. If you are listening to me, I'm proposing that you come on this program and expound your ideology. You clearly are against the trajectory where we rely on foreign investment, foreign thinking, and giving away our resources. Caller, please tell us your name and where you are calling us from.
Nami posha mbonse na posha ba honorable Mundubile lero first time yandi kubomfa pokulanda mbamona 15 emkwaishi nali andi nebo chimba ndetu bina ku northwestern emkwai nde fwa fyo kuipusha no kushita contribute kuri ba honorable Mundubile kwa bati nali basana consent mu kapatrula kaingira mchalo ina kapatrula nshikafuaya so ndelo mbako ndinapama kasa kwa batolo mwakula sale ntungulushi na mipapata mukachiteko consider wa kuno western akabe vice president na tukana ifo kuingira muri akakapaturura tulefu okubwekera tube pamo ifwe ifya kwa bati kwakanika iyo
iwe landa muchaku mwenu kuti baye bati niwo uli mubembole landa wakuno landa muchaku myenu
Mchitondo okay ina kulomba kwa honorable Mwani need work northwestern so chuma china okenga kusakula president ina kenga vice president era president akafumu ku northwestern kapatura tunakani Mwani tuika kana Mwani kapatura kechi tunakuika kebane ateba tuibe na Zambia neba muibe na Zambia kechi tunakeba mbababe mbaba ikala tunaba ku eastern ne kechi tunakeba mbaba batonga baikala tuna na balozine tujipa mo twase mukire montanda mumo mwituperereza so byakubamba tuipatururenge kevikengirane so nalombako namba in terms of decision making position giving, let it be so considerate and unifying and not just be one-sided.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you. I am forced to take this call, Honorable, because I think it's Honorable Given Katuta, your colleague, who's calling. Honorable, you are live, but you've muted yourself. Quickly unmute yourself.
Okay.
Yes.
Good evening, Ambassador, and good evening, Honorable Mundubile.
Yeah, he can hear you.
Okay. I must say this is a very good program.
Honorable, are you on speaker? Are you on speaker? Just a minute. Just Honorable, just a minute. Just remove yourself to the speaker. Yeah, and speak directly in the phone.
Okay, can you hear me now?
That's better.
Okay. I was saying that
if today they say Honorable Mundubile will be will lead the alliance, and if God says yes, and he becomes the president of Zambia, the question I have for him is, what would be his plans towards the would-be the former president? Because this country and in Africa, we've seen the trend of if there's a new president, they have to go the vengeance way to revenge or to mistreat the former president. My question is, seeing that most of his colleagues are incarcerated and some of his relatives are still in court, what would be his reaction when he becomes the president? How would he treat the then who's going to be the former president? That's my question. Thank you so much, Ambassador, and thank you, Honorable Mundubile.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Hello, caller. Please tell us your name and where you are calling us from.
Hello, good evening, Honorable Mundubile. Good evening, everybody. I'm Don Oscar, and I'm calling from Italy.
Yeah. Father Oscar Mwansa Pombo Don Oscar from Italy. Yeah, make your contributions.
Yes, thank you very much for the contributions and for the wonderful presentation of Honorable Mundubile. I think also I line up with many Zambians who have called for unity. Now, if Tonse Alliance would love to unite the country, I have one request which might be an urgent request for Brian Mundubile. Please, can you sit down with Tonse Alliance's spokesperson, who is Sean Tembo? The methodology he's using to communicate to the people of Zambia as a Tonse Alliance spokesperson, it is a little bit divisive instead of being an inspiration for unity. So my request is, please sit with the Tonse Alliance spokesperson, Sean Tembo, and I think he can do much better. We need a sign of the desire for unity. Second, it's on the issue of ECL. Vabrani Mundubile, the Salmi Pela Mano. The Salmi Pela Mano Yachifiadidwa, Ermoavika Pona Mano Yawu lawyer. Kanshi, you are one of the blessed Zambian people we have. Pamuland was Brian Mundubile. When the president recognized and announced to the Zambian people that we have lost the former 63rd Republican president, and he called for a mourning, for the national mourning. And I understand yesterday it's likely they want to go and verify, and there's some suspicion that probably the 63rd Republican president might not have died. My question to you, and help us remove this shame on Zambia. How did the president recognize the death of ECL if indeed he was not dead? Who died so that the president can announce to the Zambian people and call for a national mourning? Thank you very much.
Thank you. Fidafine Honorable Brian Mundubile nachanda pano chila diwa. Ngafueni ko asukeni. Fidafine, you group the similar questions together.
So I'll start with Chimba, Nkashandi wa Northwestern Province. Nkashandi walila akapatulula. Therefore, kusita sure ukweva ati efo tuimini pali unity. Tuimini pali unity pantu nga walolesha kunuma Chimba Nkashandi wala muno kuti Kenneth Kaunda, our first president, vali koselesa na pali one Zambia, one nation. I'm sure nga chakuti na iwe uliko above 30 or 40, you will agree with me nga chakuti aba fiashi wenu wali bombeleko mubuteko tamwale kala munchende imo iyo mwalesangwa waniye muli Msolwezi, waniye Muzambezi, efyo bakaunda batu kusishe one Zambia, one nation. Ine wide ne uleranda pano, iskuru na mbile kusolwezi pakikombe. So kanshi na Northwestern Province, ngana isoko amoso at home. I want to assure you that echo twimini nepo is to heal the nation. Ichalo nacho naika. Elio twatambile video yabakaunda. Bale sobolola intungulushi ukumona ebo benga tina po na benga teke chalo at that time twamwene kwati yoba shukulu na bakula afya fine but ichibe mbachitila umukulu apusa akabwe tapusa kevo yo and for sure if you let tina bakaunda muri ilya interview wako ete efe tule mona lelo lelo ifo ngen tungulushi evo tuiminine po tuiminine pakuchita hiwi chalo. So kanshi even to the other people that contributed, that is our resolve. We appreciate the fact that our country is divided. There's never been a time in the history of this country that as citizens we become so conscious of our ethnicity. That we must fight, must bring a stop to that. Nikale sana takuwa alikuti wakumana na bantu the first thing ulefo kuipushati uliwakwisa what tribe are you? No, that's not the Zambia that we know. So nkashandi chimba ndefo kukula kuti kwena uyo emulimo tukwete even as we discuss n'abanensu in other political parties bonse na tumuno bulwele ichi tuletele pamo apa fikile ichalo tachata bachifikako apa chifikile yo. So kanshi akapa tulula na division ili muchalo echintu tufilo kubombela po sana sana. Kanshi noko ku Northwestern Province nififeta tukwete nchitangana tintantike abanandi abo wanjana mkulala maya ndamu abo abesa kunganda kumwandi ukulala nokulya kunganda kumwandi aba ku Northwestern Province ebengi. Kanshi ukubomba na abantu ba ku Northwestern Province, tukabomba na abantu ba ku Western Province, tukabomba na abantu ba ku Southern Province, tukabomba na abantu ba ku Central Province. Efo tuiminine po ifwe tuiminine pakutila chino chalo chibwelele pale chali. I want to just make a comment, a general comment. In 2016, when there was a disputed election result for President Edgar Chagwa Lungu, the president had actually called for national dialogue. In a national dialogue, the president brought together churches to sit down with political parties. I was privileged to be one of the representatives from our party. From the UPND was President Hakainde Hichilema himself. He used to come with young man James Lukuku and a few other people. So at that time, President Lungu realized that we had begun to drift apart as a people. And therefore, there was need for us to sit together and understand where our differences were. Believe you me, it took a year. That dialogue forum did not take place. That national dialogue did not take place. And the reasons why it did not take place is that President Hakainde Hichilema, as an opposition leader then, he kept on ducking. He kept on bringing excuses. The clergy, the Catholic priests were ready. We had met them on several occasions. But President Hakainde Hichilema continued changing goalposts until those particular talks collapsed. Our view is that going forward, for the nation to heal, that national dialogue will be inevitable. People have to come in one place, speak to one another, reconcile, truth and reconciliation. What are the issues? We have always lived together all along. What has changed? So, like I said, there's never been a time that citizens have been so conscious about their ethnicity as the situation is now. So,
Honorable Mundubile, let's just take another set. Just take another set. Caller, please tell us your name and where you are calling us from.
Oh my God! Oh my God! Oh my God!
Yes, please speak louder.
Yes, thank you, Ambassador. Good afternoon. Good evening, Honorable Mundubile.
Yeah, he can hear you.
Chanda in Indianapolis.
Sir, if God gave you the grace to become president of the Republic of Zambia, I would like you to share with us what guarantees you have for institutional independence in the country. I ask this on the backdrop that I feel the weakness in our political system is basically a lack of strong and independent institutions. Example, the Electoral Commission of Zambia is politicized. The police service is politicized. What plans do you have to depoliticize these institutions? My second question is, what plans do you have to harness our mineral resources for the benefit of our people? For 60 years, we have not truly yielded the benefits required for our country to be called a developed country. My last question to you is, what plans do you have to revamp the system of appointing our foreign representatives or those in foreign missions? We know that some of these or most of these appointments are based on party affiliation. They are not professional at all. Because if we had a professional cadre of people representing us in these foreign countries, we can make strides and benefit from international relations. Thank you, sir. Wishing you all the best.
Thank you. Caller, tell us your name and where you are calling us from.
Good evening. My name is Robert, calling from Manchester. Wow, what a powerful session we're having today, and I'm so happy with everyone that's watching, because UPND have been saying that there's no leadership in the opposition. My God, if only they could watch your presentation, and I can see a lot of Zambians crying in their homes that why can't the president speak like this? No pride, just humble man, delivering to its people and answering the questions the way they're supposed to be answered. I thank you for everything that you've done, and you deserve a lot of credit today, because there's a lot of pressure. The only thing, and I will keep on reminding everyone that comes on this platform, is we are fighting for independence. Like what you said, is Zambia has never been in this situation. This is independence 2.0. As you go back to the opposition, you have to make it clear to them that our citizens want to be liberated. They want to be free. They want to speak. When you have people coming on the platform and say, I can't say my name, anonymous, AI, that's dictatorship, because people are not free. Democracy is not there. So we are fighting for independence. And if we fail to win this and the opposition do not come together, we're not going to blame UPND. The blame is going to be on the opposition not coming together. Some of us, we are not sleeping because we are trying to spread the message of change and independence. Please help us by coming together, and we will back you with everything that we've got. One Zambia, one nation, and thank you so much, and may God continue to bless you with your wisdom, knowledge, and kindness, and the love that we're seeing. Okay? Thank you so much. Zambia is blessed. Thank you so much.
Caller, tell us your name and where you are calling us from.
Yes, indeed. Ambassador Mwamba is Samuel.
Samuel, please tell us your contribution or question.
Yes, please. Yes, please. So, Ambassador Mwamba, Honorable Mundubile, good evening, gentlemen. So mine is what's burning in my conscience is on the voter register. Just wanted to find out what the opposition is doing about the voter register. Most especially that Zalomis tells us that she's going to find 3.5 million voters to add onto the voters register. So I wanted to find out on the independent audit, how are you pursuing this, and how are you going to be involved to ensure that you run through with the independent audit on the voters register? Also, looking at that fact, we do know that the president has got command around all the institutions. All the institutions are broken down. So we talk about the ECZ, police, courts, Speaker of the National Assembly, DCAG, name it. They are all corrupted in a way. They are bidding to the piper. So if you look at all those, how are you going to ensure that you maintain some semblance of credibility on the elections when they come through, most particularly the voters' roll? How are you going to ensure that you are involved from the beginning to the end to know who's on the voters' register and how credible that will be? That is the number one thing. And then the rest, we can always start discussing who becomes president, what are they going to do, and all that. At the moment, I think we are jumping the gun. We need to make sure that we sweep through from the very basics, the foundation. We make sure it's as strong. We don't jump the gun and start talking about who's coming in and everything else.
Thank you, Sam. Thank you, Sam. I think there's an issue of ECZ that's not going away, and if there will be an issue to audit that, register. Good evening. Please tell us your name and where you are calling us from.
Your colleague here, I fell to sleep. Kulanda kuna ba Mundubile kwena omfikishe andi na la konkanya pope pali. That's a very key question. How are you going to treat your ex-predecessor if you become president?
How will he treat the predecessor? How will they treat Hakainde Hichilema? Oh, wonderful, wonderful. Thank you.
Yes. Number, this is the Kweba Mutima. Bakateka versus the way he subverted the constitution on Bill 7, the amount of wrong things he has done. He must be made accountable. But we are different from him. Then he must be punished. The state councils, they can't lie on how much wrong he's doing. So me, that is my suggestion.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Honorable Mundubile, let's allow you to answer. Then Mwebantu Wakwalesa will come and take the last 5 questions. I know the entire country wants to speak, but we can't take all the calls. Former PS Liam Tale says she was also at Kikombe Primary School in Solwezi. Thank you, Honorable Mundubile. Please answer.
Yeah, I think within 10 minutes I should be able to collapse the questions. Father Oscar, yes, I will speak to my brother Sean as you've guided, and raise the concerns that you have raised, so that we are able to forge the way forward. Yeah, you also brought about the issue of verification, where the government now would like to confirm that President Lungu is indeed dead. The questions to ask: how did they recognize his death and also set national mourning? But most importantly, we even had foreign dignitaries that visited President Hakainde Hichilema at the level of a foreign minister from South Africa. A member of parliament asked a question on the floor of the House. He wondered whether we are questioning the authenticity of the death certificate that was signed by the doctors in South Africa. Secondly, he's asking whether the Zambian government is alleging that the South African government is colluding with President Lungu's family, to feign a death of President Lungu. This is yet another embarrassment. We have continued to embarrass ourselves as a country to the outside world because you are the president, you've got all your machinery, both locally and abroad. They've given you information. Based on the information that you get, you declare a national mourning and the whole country is mourning. You sent emissaries to South Africa to go and negotiate with leaders in that country. And 2 months later, you turn around and say, we're not sure that President Lungu died. My advice and appeal to the president is that please stop embarrassing us. President Hakainde Hichilema, what you're doing over President Lungu's mortal remains is embarrassing. And I think that it's time we began to move forward and stop all these machinations. All those movements, all those representatives that are sent to South Africa to go and force their way to inspect the mortal remains, that should not be the case. I think we can do better. A man cannot be persecuted in life and in death. That is very, very unfortunate. As you can hear, President Hakainde Hichilema, the Zambians are mourning, and they do not appreciate the manner that the late president is being treated, even in death. I hope that those that are close to the president will advise him that the president, the residents, the citizens are taking all these maneuvers to be indeed in very bad taste. Yes, so I want to tackle the question that Patrick Chilufya raised. I think he was the first one. But Chilufya, as a matter of fact, we are speaking the same language. I agree with you when you talk about corruption being a product of bad leadership. If you heard me when I was talking about corruption being broader than the paying of bribes and receiving of bribes, but involving all actions that put private interest over and above public interest. And this will be in relation to legislation, policy, and administration. So I'm actually bringing out bad leadership in that new definition of corruption. So we've had a challenge. The challenge that we've had is that President Hakainde Hichilema preached to this country that the moment he's elected into government, the first thing that he will do is declare his assets and compel his lieutenants to also declare their assets. That was not done. And as a matter of fact, his lieutenants have also not declared their assets. At the time that the Anti-Corruption Commission, which was chaired by State Counsel Musa Mwenye, began to push and press for some of his ministers, over 10 ministers were called for questioning at the SEC, including the Solicitor General. At that point, President Hakainde Hichilema should have shown leadership. The late President Lungu allowed SEC to investigate his ministers, sitting ministers, and that is on record. So we expected that President Hakainde Hichilema was going to allow his ministers to go through the investigative processes. What did we see? The Anti-Corruption Commission board was dissolved and management was changed. So clearly from the word go, President Hakainde Hichilema showed that he had no political will to fight corruption. So Chilufya, I agree with you. Due to bad leadership, President Hakainde Hichilema's bad leadership, we are in a position we're in today. They've not given us a report. There's been no update on the position of those ministers who are appearing before the Anti-Corruption Commission. We keep asking. These could be the same ministers that are involved in the corruption at ZAMSA. They are the same ministers involved in the corruption and in the energy subsector. These are the same ministers who could be involved in corruption under Ministry of Agriculture. So we really have a problem, and I thought that I could just agree with you that yes, the corruption in the UPND is systemic. And as a result of that, they are using legislation, they are using policy, and the whole system can collude and be able to do these things with ease. So I thought I could just clear that with Patrick. But Isaac, on governance systems, checks and balances, yes, like everybody else has contributed, we have a total collapse of our governance systems. So checks and balances cannot be achieved because now you find that even when there's a court judgment from the Crown Court, a parliament through the speaker is able to disregard. And the very next day, the president also makes statements that point to total disregard of a court judgment. That has never happened. Like my sister from Kaputa was saying, it's for the very first time. Even under Kaunda, we may have been young. Kaunda respected the courts, even under a one-party state. It's for the very first time that we are seeing a total disregard of the court judgments under President Hakainde Hichilema's government. So there's a lot that has to be done. For us as your leaders in the opposition, we will ensure that even amidst difficulties, we will represent you, we will fight on the floor of the House to ensure that to whatever extent we try to rescue the few remaining departments within government so that they can carry us through up to the time that we go to elections, with the hope that after the UPND are kicked out of power, then a new government can begin to reconstruct the country right from the beginning. So the fight against each other. Dorcas Davis Kunda from Mongu. I want to say this. Listening to all of you as voters, you've given us very, very strict instructions. The instructions that you've given us are that we must unite. Now, because you are the voters, you are the bosses, you are the decision makers in the ballot box. Whereas I cannot guarantee that maybe out of 20 political parties, all the political party leaders will agree to come to one alliance and present one candidate. Whilst I agree that we're busy talking, it is possible that maybe out of 20 political parties, 3, 4, 5 may not come along. But then the beauty is that you, the voters, have given us directives. What this means is that for those that will not obey your directives, they decide to walk away, they decide to break away, they refuse to come to unity. You are the judges. We'll leave it up to you, the voters, to deal with all those leaders who are going to attempt to reduce the chances of removing the UPND from power. So, in as much as you want assurances from me, I'm fortified by the fact that you, our bosses, you, our judges, are the ones who are going to deal with us. Should Mundubile walk away from the alliance, he doesn't want to unite with other people. You are the people that are going to meet him in the ballot. So we need to get to a level where the governance, the leaders, and those who are governed, rise to some level of understanding. Because at the end of the day, it's the voter. It's the voter's voice that matters. So most of the instructions that you have given, most of the assurances that you'd want to get from me, actually the power resides in you as the voters, because you are the people that are going to make out the ultimate judgment on those leaders who decide to break away for whatever reason. What we can guarantee is that there will be a neutral platform upon which we all come together to meet for a common cause. And that common cause is to be able to present a united opposition that will be able to give a pressure to the ruling party. And ultimately, given the situation on the ground, we're very sure that the UPND, as was prophesied by my sister in Kaputa, it will be a one-term government going forward. There was a question, a very important question that was asked by my dear sister on...
Honorable Katuta asked you that question. So what we'll do is let me take some calls, and you come and start your answer with Honorable Katuta's question. Hello, good evening. Please tell us your name and where you are calling us from. Yes, we can hear you.
Yes, Ambassador Mwamba, good evening.
Good evening.
You are speaking to
Hello, are you there? Uh-oh, we've lost the caller. Good evening, please tell us your name and where you are calling us from.
Anonymous.
Anonymous,
Ambassador.
make your contributions quickly.
Good evening, Ambassador. Good evening, Mr. Mundubile.
Thank you.
I'm very happy that we have men like Honorable Mundubile. Last time, Professor Kasonso was saying, if we don't have someone to put there, we are going to vote for Inshokonono. But I'm very, very encouraged that we have men like Honorable Mundubile who are going to represent us. Now, Honorable Mundubile, I want to find out something from you. You see, UPND from the inception, from their opposition, when they were in opposition, they labored so hard to brand PF and its leaders as corrupt people. They labored so much that they went even to the international community pointing out the corruption. So, and they have been trying so hard to at least put some of you people in jail. What are you trying to do in order to clean up this mess that has been the brand that UPND has put upon your leadership? Secondly, I also wanted to know, because the battle that we have in Zambia is actually between PF and UPND. And you know, 2.8 million voted for UPND, 1.8 voted for PF, and we've known from their underperformance, a bigger chunk of people have come back to back the PF, and most of them, they are regretting that they made a mistake in 2021. So, sir, what are you doing in order to put us together as the PF members and those disappointed ones by the underperformance of the UPND? That's my question.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Honorable Mundubile, let's just take the course what we can then allow you to answer and wind up. Good evening, please tell us your name and where you are calling us from.
This is Mkonge. Good evening, Ambassador. Good evening, Chairman.
Yes, Wamunkonge, yes.
For quick check of questions. Question number one. Ushe gachakwevati environment ya Rubana muchalo democracy bayikatapa mukoshiba opposition tabakwete kwa kubutukira takwa vapo ama international communities abachita involved nga chakwevati chalo chile yakuliyo nshira. Then second question yakuli Mundubile ifo abandondoroereko kushe bapekanya koshani pamulandu wa kadalism, because kadalism ekintu kimwe kyalengera okwebati kubyokufuma mu power nomba epo okuli okwingira mu alliance yako bati kyalo kibe kyapi nomba within the party kushe baikala poshani pamulandu wa kadalism yo yalengera okwebati tulechulo okufika nayo because
Thank you. Let me bring back Chilufia from the United Kingdom. He had made contribution, but I think he had some other thoughts. Just, my dear brother, quickly make your contribution. I think we cut you, but finish your thoughts.
Yeah, I think from Mwamba, you were correct. A lot of people were calling, and you did a good thing to stop me, allow other people to call, and then bring me back. Mundubile, we are on the same page now. I understand. So we were talking about the same thing, but in a different way. So we've agreed now that HH cannot fight corruption because he is not a leader, because the leader sets a tone, in the fight against corruption. And one important thing about Mundubile, no nation has experienced sustainable growth and development without having, economic and political democratic institutions that are autonomous, free from interference from the executive, and also not only autonomous, but that have integrity and manned by the people with integrity, and those people are appointed through a meritocratic process and also transparent. You've noticed a lot of people are talking about institutions, and I wanted to talk about Electoral Commission, SEC. All these are managed, are controlled by the Director General's cadres. And according to our constitution, Mundubile, a lawyer, it says these institutions have to be independent. So which means we need to have an independent electoral commission. Independence means free from political interference. But if we have a member of the UPND being the Director General of Electoral Commission and SEC, a cadre, that is not independence. So, Mundubile, what are we going to do? Because this is very important, like the Electoral Commission. This can cause a lot of problems because this person we have there in State House or Community House wants to rig these elections at all costs. And rigging doesn't mean rigging it just on the election day. They've already started the process. Why can't we start talking to donors? Because some of the donors donate money to the election, because these elections are not going to be free and fair. So the better we do it now, donors and other organizations. And the other thing, why can't we go to court, constitutional court, and allow the constitutional court to define what independence means? Because it's there in the Constitution, Independent Electoral Commission. What does that mean? Because they need to define, is Salome independent? Because she's a cadre whose royalty or allegiance is Salome's to the president, because he was appointed by the president. I rest my case.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Hello, caller. Please tell us your name and where you are calling us from.
This is calling from Livingston. Thank you so much, Honorable Mundubile. Thank you so much, Ambassador Mwamba. Mundubile nabalanda buno sana ngetungurushi, and I can tell you Mndara has got a very, very bright future. So, Mr. Mundubile, mupitirishe pone minimum mure bomba. Now, nada buena fixanda ba Father Donosco concerning Vashon Tembo. Ida program eba Shon Tembo na nena chiumfwa. The language watch bomfya Vashon Tembo ida te language ya kumulete charupamo. Tamulu mchinshi mundunguru shishkaramba. Vashon Tembo. Bastando kwa kuchira program bachi kwa tapari Hot FM. Upewa ati vaiti karungu takwaruru onzo vashire po kuchairman babu donzi. Then Baruvinda vachire po special 2 times because badani kulita bayi. And later on he mentioned of some very, very, very sarcastic languages. So now Mundubile mulesa mkuchita United chalo through opposition political parties. Number spokesperson when mulete MPF warefo kutoka. If you watch that drama priest to go at tulimona kwa signs ya because we are coming as Zambians to say we want to unite as a opposition. But again, Mundubile pafulo muliapo. Mwachando kuchilo kutoka opposition tebonse benga tanansikali. Opposition tebonse benga sapatebo. Imikutuka shapo na babili nangu batatu. Already that is not a language of unity.
Bamwape, sondweleleni, bamwape, sondweleleni. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Yeah, I'll take the last two, and then we let Honorable Brian Mundubile answer the questions and also wind up. You start with Honorable Katuta's question. Hello, caller, please tell us your name and where you are calling us from.
Good evening, Ambassador Mwamba.
Good evening.
And good evening, Honorable Mundubile. Mr. Liali, I'm calling you from home.
Thank you, Mr. Diadi. Make your contribution.
Yeah, I want to talk about the ECZ and also the Tonse Alliance. Yeah, so, you know, the ECZ, in its inappropriate and the suspected partisan composition to preside over free and fair elections is worrying. A case in point is the recent Lumezi by-election. So, for me, the fact that the people view ECZ to be solely about elections and politics. Some of the people who feel they are not politicians think they have nothing to do with the ECZ. But you and I and others know for a fact that everything else in a country, good or bad, emanates, from politics, economic and social being of any state. I feel it is incumbent upon, people like Honorable Mundubile, those, in that fraternity, to involve other stakeholders to speak and act, against the perceived, partisanship in the composition of the ECZ. Like we saw and heard, various voices were raised and court action taken against the Bill 7, which is now fallen, though they say it is deferred. We have seen similar, results with the Bill 13. The involvement of other stakeholders. We've seen the church, civic organizations spoke strongly against the Bill 7 and Bill 13. We haven't heard many of those talk against the ECZ. Complaints are only coming from political, players.
Thank you, my brother. Thank you, my brother. Hello, caller, please tell us your name and where you are calling from.
I will remain anonymous. I'm calling from United States of America.
Yes, anonymous.
Chamene nzafuna kwamba kuwalimbikisa wa Brian Mundubile is a good leader. So far, Kanyama constituency is behind you, Honorable Brian Mundubile. Bashon Tembo, Basungeni Moshe, there was a reason why Waitika Chagwarungu, Wanabawa Walita Wafupi. Because Shon Tembo is a leader, Wamenesa Masaidinga Mundu Tashtavarong. Ndema leaders of Native Funamonga Shon Tembo, Ngati Ulirong, Africa Chakamba Chata, Boy Apa Ulirong. So once the Venwakamba, maybe Washta misquote Shon Tembo, otherwise he's a good leader. There's nothing more to add up. So Gananche Buino wants the opposition. I submit. Thank you. God bless you, Brian Mundubile.
Honorable Brian Mundubile, panoktumwachesha. So let's pick up the questions and answer.
Yes, the Chilufia, from Livingston, Waliali, I think they all talked about ECZ, and the big question has been, what are we doing about ECZ? It's a well-known fact that the person heading ECZ is a UPND cadre. One or two other commissioners there are also cadres, and therefore ECZ cannot be said to be independent. And remember that independence of ECZ should not only be independent, but be seen to be independent. Now, if it's headed by cadres, it cannot be said to be independent. It cannot be seen to be independent. And further, reading from their actions, starting from their very first act, when they denied Honorable Bowman Lusambo and Joseph Malanji an opportunity to file in their nomination papers. They stretched their mandate and went into interpreting the Constitution. Even after the Constitutional Court ruled that the two were eligible to stand, they proceeded and they conducted elections, and our two honorable members out of Parliament. So, in my capacity as the chairperson for Tonse, I want to tell you that I've had several engagements with the cooperating partners, embassies, concerning ECZ. I did not want to mention earlier because these are active talks, and but I've realized that for as long as we don't give some assurance on what efforts are being made, our members are getting very anxious. But be rest assured that that process has already started. We've started engagements, and they're at all levels. I know that party presidents also have been engaging cooperating partners and other donors concerning the ECZ. As the chairperson for parliamentarians, we've also been, taking these initiatives to meet donors to complain about, ECZ. If we're talking about democracy, there has to be a lot of transparency, starting with the Electoral Commission of Zambia. Like Comrade Diali said, even for those that are not politicians, they must understand why it's very important for them to take interest, including civil society, because everything starts from politics. The development that you are yearning for will be a product of a proper government coming into power and responding to the aspirations of the poor people, to respond to the load shedding, to respond to the high food prices, and so on and so forth. So let's take a lot of interest on what is happening at ECZ. As stakeholders, as political parties, we have all said that we are uncomfortable. So something should be done. Changes must be made. We demand that the chairperson of ECZ be removed, and a new chairperson who's neutral, and preferably a retired judge takes over that position, so that as stakeholders we're all comfortable even as we go into those elections. My dear sister, Honorable Given Katuta, you know that our position, our country has to heal. So the persecution of former presidents will end with President Hakainde Hichilema and what he did to President Lungu. The persecution of former presidents has to come to an end. I know that somebody else talked about the law. Of course, there are two different things. When you talk about the law and you talk about persecution, the two must be looked at differently. If the president, for some reason, is found wanting, he will be allowed to go through the normal court processes without having to mistreat him or treat him like a common criminal. Give him all the privileges, even as he goes through those processes, as it were. So there are two different things that we must differentiate: persecution, and indeed, the legal processes through which one, goes through when they are found wanting on the forefowl of the law. So I thought I could clarify that. But the issue of persecution, my dear sister, we will never be there. As a country, we have to heal. Yes, Anik Matipa talked about the impasse of in the barrio of ECO and whether the Zambian president has been engaged. Anik, you remember that the foreign minister from South Africa actually traveled. He was sent here by the president of South Africa to come and engage with the president. I know very well that presidents in the region, this information, of course, we got from the family spokesperson when he was addressing the press. There's been several engagements regarding this particular matter. So what is true is that our President Hakainde Hichilema, has actually been engaged by regional presidents, both current and former, regarding the impasse on the mortal remains of President Edgar Chagwa Lungu. As Comrade Emmanuel Mwamba pointed out, I think the experience that he went through with President Hakainde Hichilema, then when he was a private individual, may just give you some insights of what challenges could be there even as we are talking. There was another question I want to combine that had to do with President Edgar Chagwa, so that we leave that one. Yes. I think on that one we have tackled. There was an anonymous who talked about the key economic reform priorities. Also spoke about inflation and the economy and the sectors that have been neglected. I think, my dear sister, if you critically look at the Zambian economy and you look at the drivers of our economy, you'll be talking about the agricultural sector in terms of food security. You'll also be talking about the mining sector. You also talk about the energy sector. These are among the priority sectors, in our country that are predominantly in our economy. So, food security, one, because obviously we are looking at a government. We are looking at a government that to prioritize the challenges of the poor. Food security comes number one. There's been a lot of negative impact on our economy on account of high food prices. So the agricultural sector actually is a very important sector that any rational government should prioritize. I also want to tell you that when we talk about the agricultural sector, in the previous government, there were 10 farming blocks, one farming block per province that were set up. The idea of these farming blocks was to add value, for value addition. So what ideally President Edgar Chagwa had encouraged the provincial ministers then was to isolate up to 100,000 hectares of land, out of which farming blocks will be created. And these farming blocks were not ordinary farming blocks, they were actually agricultural parks. Because maybe in the formative years, it will all be agriculture, but along the way, factories were to be built in those particular areas so that, a full range of the value chain is realized. So that particular sector remains very important for those reasons. Of course, we know that our mainstay as a country is the mining sector, and we can't run away from the mining sector. Yes, we talked about mines like Mopani. The previous government had started looking at, deriving more benefit from mines, and the starting point was not to allow the investors to utilize these assets. So Mopani was one such a mine that the Zambian government was about to start running. They were in the process of securing some equity partner so that they could run it together. So this particular sector will be prioritized through reforms. As you know now, there are so many incentives to the extent that now they're even giving tax waivers to people that are exporting copper concentrate. And a lot of money is lost through some of these decisions. So the mining sector as it is, we just need to relook at the policies that the UPND government has implemented in this particular sector that have resulted in reduction of domestic resource mobilization. And of course, the energy sector is a very big opportunity for our people. What we have opportunities in hydropower generation and indeed solar. And we have seen that there's been a number of investments across the country in those two sectors. We haven't done very well in exploiting our hydro power sources. As you know, most of the hydropower sources are up north, and there's been some delayed conclusion of dues concerning the operationalization of these particular sites. So when you look at the southern part, the water sources in the southern part, because of the climate change, are drying up slowly. But the ones up north, still have abundant water, and it would therefore be advisable that government invests in hydro power projects up north. There are quite a number. And if you look at, for instance, Lumangwe, Kawelumen Kundawika has a potential of up to 240 megawatts. When you go up Lufubu, I think they're also over 100. So Zambia, in totality, on hydro alone, we have potential of over 6,500 megawatts of power. So it's therefore advisable that investments in this particular area are expedited so that we can become net exporters of electricity to our neighboring countries.
Thank you so much, Honorable Mundubile. I recognize you've been sitting in Parliament all day, and I grabbed you out of Parliament to come and be with us, and you've sat in the last 3 hours with our national and international audience. Just give your last remarks. We will probably bring you back because there's so much to discuss, and especially after the Patriotic Front resolves its leadership, probably that will be one of the best times. Kindly give your last remarks, and then we close.
Yes, as I give my closing remarks, Robam, when he talked about Independence 2.0, he made one position very clear, and the position was that if we fail to come together, we will not blame anyone. The opposition will be blamed. And of course, I want to assure you, Robam, that I know there was one gentleman, I think I can't just remember who it was. I think he did not get my point very clearly, where I say that it's possible that out of the many political parties wishing to come together, yes, we will reach out. We will reach out to everybody, but it's also possible that out of the many, one or two may not, tag along. That is expected. But at the end of the day, as long as the majority come together, I think we'll be able to drive the process forward. So it's not so much that somebody will be left out. No. As I was saying, you are the voters. Please continue encouraging us and make it very clear to all of us that you will only support those leaders that are going to come and work together going forward. We can start going our separate ways after. I think we have a big assignment. The big assignment is to ensure that we remove the UPND government because of their maladministration and be able to form government that will be able to start reconstructing the country all over again, reconstruct the country across all sectors. We have highlighted that there are challenges in the health sector, challenges in the mining sector, challenges in the agricultural sector, challenges in the energy sector, challenges in the financial sector. And as a matter of fact, Ambassador Mwamba, I even forgot to mention that, for instance, we have high levels of youth unemployment. We need to find solutions for our youths. We cannot afford to let our youths die in the manner they are dying, like in Mufumbwe, and just yesterday in Chingola. Something has to be done. There are a number of solutions, there are a number of ideas that the youths themselves are coming up with. All they need a government that is going to look at them, both backward and forward integration, ensure that they cross the line and become responsible citizens. They have a lot of initiatives in solar tech, a lot of initiatives in AI. We have to learn to utilize the skills that they've acquired. It is wrong for us to only hear about AI when we hear of scandals in South Africa. People intending to steal, the mortal remains of the late president. But we can use AI to train our youths, and indeed solar tech to train our youths going forward. So it's a call. It's a call on all opposition members of parliament. I think we've all been paying attention to our callers. Almost every caller talked about unity. I'm very encouraged. Even as I speak to my colleagues, I'll share with them, what I've experienced, which is that you, the voters, the people of Zambia, have made up your minds. You are saying, opposition, please come together. We are ready to give you our vote. So I wish to thank you most sincerely for your time, and indeed Ambassador Mwamba for giving me this opportunity to appear on this very, very important platform. I thank you very much.
Thank you very much. That was Honorable Brian Mundubile. I always call him leader of the opposition in Parliament because he was unfairly stripped of that position. So genuinely, justifiably, legitimately, he is a leader of the opposition in Parliament. He tackled various issues, and I'm glad that there was so many calls. I've seen so many messages on my page and on other pages. He will probably also go and review and answer them. And to the many callers that I haven't gone through, people are still calling even now on all my 3 phones. We are unable to take all the calls. We have to allow Honorable Brian Mundubile to go and rest, and it's been 3 hours. I just got him out of Parliament, and he's been in Parliament with committees and then with sessions since morning, and he accorded us sufficient time. And to you, the callers who are still calling, we also tried. We let you also speak. But we are devising something new where we'll be transitioning when we have a forum like this, and, we migrate to TikTok where we don't have to have this setup, and you can then participate in Pansaka ku TikTok. Next week, we have a lineup of other leaders that are coming to speak to you, to expose them to their ideas, and you will see uniformity. One caller made it very clear that, just before we started this series, they began to believe the lie that there is no leadership to challenge President Hakainde Hichilema. Each and every single leader we've brought here, all of you are saying, he must be president, he must be president. It shows you the rich reservoir of leaders we have in the opposition, and Brian Mundubile today has distinguished himself very well. So until next time, God bless you. We have a series of other leaders that are coming up next week. Some will return like Brian Mundubile and Mohabi Lungu, who you are calling that they should come back. We'll just have to find time. So God bless you, and shalom, shalom.
Those who voted for change must have now realized that the president they voted for has kept this country paralyzed. If you voted for him, but you're also feeling the pain, I hope you do your best to see it never happens again. Those who voted for change must have now realized that the president they voted for has kept this country paralyzed. If you voted for him, but you're also feeling the pain, I hope you do your best to see it never happens again. Those who voted.
Lero bwacha bakamba mu kyalo ky'esu kya Zambia ekyaweka Enjoy.